Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 12, Chapter 52. 4 Steps to Freedom. The culture of this ancient land is as deep as it is vast. It is built on strong and sustaining principles of human development. But Indians at the present time are neglecting its lessons and entangling themselves in the search for material joys and pleasures. They ignore the true and eternal values. They turn a deaf ear to the call of the divine. They respond to the siren voice of the worldly. This is the 20th century, the age of science and technology. There is plenty of material comforts and sensual pleasures easily available. So, driven by an insane urge for the temporal and the trivial, man rushes into rain and loses the precious heritage of Atmic, pure spiritual treasure, which the culture promises him. In fact, if only man knew the purpose and the plan of life, he would not waste his years and his skills in the pursuit of mere time-bound joys. It is a pitiable fact that man everywhere is engrossed in these endeavors, which can be attributed to his misfortune or his ignorance. Of course, man has lost faith in himself, so there is no wonder that he has lost faith in God also. Only those who know themselves and have confidence in themselves can acquire knowledge of God and confidence in God. Know thyself first. Then your attempt to know the world will be rendered simple. Wisdom can come only through work as worship. Indian culture has laid emphasis on 4 stages of life or ashramas for individual development in order to ensure everyone with the education needed to know himself. For Atma Vicharana, inquiry into the self, Ashramadhanam, code of duty, is very essential. Through adherence to the regulations and prescriptions of conduct and study assigned to each stage or ashram, the earning of knowledge and wisdom is made easy and automatic. Wisdom can come only through work as worship. The ashrams guide man to sublimate all activity into worship. Just as we have 4 stages, childhood, youth, middle age and old age, we have 4 corresponding ashramas: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas, studentship, householdership, recluseship and monkship. During the years of childhood and teenage, man has to equip himself with the information necessary to share in the work of society and to derive health and happiness thereby. He has to acquaint himself with the tools of knowledge and the paths along which wisdom can be garnered. As a householder, raising a family and sustaining a society, he has to also uphold the ideals of justice and truth and promote them by his actions. He must feel the innate majesty of mankind and live in accordance with that high status. As a recluse and monk in old age, he has to be the guide and teacher of the people around him, imparting to them the fund of wisdom he has won through his experience. The Shastras, spiritual sciences, lay down the lines along which man has to direct his thoughts and activities. Sincere adherence to these laws and limitations alone can guarantee jnana, spiritual wisdom. Otherwise, man drifts aimlessly along the cross currents and whirlpools of life and ends up ignorant, both of the nature of Loka, world, and the glory of Lokeshvara, God. Forces of atheism have gained strength now. The higher paths must be trodden from childhood. They cannot be adopted at an advanced age. The child must learn to be truthful in word and deed and avoid the cowardly habit of falsehood. Later, boys and girls have to become conscious directors of their senses instead of being automatic slaves. Heads of families have to adhere to the schedules of rites and worship prescribed for them. They have to supervise the behavior and conduct of the members of the household. They have to render hospitality to guests and deal charity to the poor. They have also to equip their sons and daughters with processes by which they can have mental peace and equanimity under all conditions. Because these obligations have been neglected for some generations, the forces of atheism have earned strength now. When the seeds are ridden with defects, how can the tree yield richly? When parents and elders do not provide good examples to the children growing under their shade, how can the country prosper and be free from anxiety and fear? You cannot separate the rind, the pulp, and the seed that a tamarind fruit has when it is still green. But once it has ripened, the separation is quite easy. So too, until a person becomes ripe in experience and can be pronounced wise, he cannot discard his identification with the body, the senses, and the mind. He will not be able to differentiate between Atma, spiritual self, and non-Atma, Kshetra, the body, and Kshetrajna, the controller of the body, Prakriti, nature, and Paramatma, supreme self, Guna, impelling characteristic quality, and transguna and such other entities. Man's restlessness affects society too. Let me tell you a small example. Krishna killed the Kaliya serpent that was poisoning the Kalindi river and destroying all traces of life for miles around by means of deadly fumes. No sooner was Kaliya killed than the wives, serpents of his harem, prayed to Krishna for succor and surrendered to him. This story is according to the Bhagavata. Now what does this signify? In the mind lake, the Manasa Sarovar of man, there lurks a poisonous serpent, desire. When that is destroyed, the various frailties and frivolities, triumphs, trials and failures, pains and pleasures, all that desire brings in its train, surrenders to God. Desire can be killed only when faith in the Atma as the very core of being is firmly established. Since all efforts are now directed to the accumulation of material goods and the satisfaction of sensual desires, man is tossed about on the waves of fight and faction, falsehood and greed. The individual is intimately related to society, and so his restlessness affects society too. The individual will is ultimately responsible for the welfare and well-being of the world. The world is but a mental image of the individual. How this happens is a mystery. One can only say that just as sleep is the cause of dreams, Maya, worldly illusion due to basic ignorance, is the cause of creation. Doctors ascribe dreams to various reasons: indigestion, the compulsions of thought, the confusions of mental pictures, etc. But we can be certain only of one reason, namely sleep. Dreams are nullified when the person becomes a jnani, one aware of the truth. At that stage, one gets rid of the night dream as well as the daydream. The 4 ashrams have been devised in order to awaken man into the jnani stage. Education today in all grades is a process of packing information in the brain and skills in the hands. It is useful only for parading scholarship, dialectical controversies, and mutual recrimination. It does not instill humility, a sense of balance and equanimity. Of course, spiritual training is totally absent. Perhaps the feeling is that spirituality is a solitary pursuit which can be undertaken only in the silence of the forest. No, true spirituality is the awareness of the fundamental unity of man in God. The main mission of man is the march towards unity. People celebrate the birth of a child. They are happy when the child grows tall and strong. But the fittest event for such celebration is when the child justifies its birth by achieving good fame as a benefactor of man or a servant of mankind. Emperor Dhritarashtra had 100 sons. He must have celebrated their birthdays too. But no one of them did anyone good. They were all arrogant, greedy, and full of spite. Therefore, they accomplished only the extinction of the entire dynasty and all who were attached to it. Sons and daughters are now keen to share the properties of their parents and spend their portion as quickly as possible. They do not care for the much more precious wealth of experience that their forefathers have earned for their sake. They waste their years in fallow affects so much that even their health is destroyed. Children wear glasses when barely 10. They dye their hair when barely 14. They age fast and show signs of senility when barely 16. To praise the habits that people adopt today as modern or conducive to progress is ridiculous, to say the least. As the ancients emphasized, food habits and recreation habits have to become sattvic, conducive to health of body and mind. That is to say, habits that cannot arouse and feed the passions of man, or make him dull and stupid, idle and listless. Above all, everyone must realize and guide himself accordingly that the main mission of man here below is the march towards the ideal of unity and peace. Prashanti Nilayam, November 23rd, 1974. If you can fill your heart with love, then peace will come into you from outside. Through bad qualities, to some extent, we lose peace. With truthful thoughts, a man will have peace. If you can get rid of all thoughts, you will become a saint. It is only when you can be free from all thoughts that you can have peace. Your own bad thoughts are responsible for all your pain and sorrow. Shri Sathya Sai Baba.